Hey there, Sharon Peterson here, and welcome to Quiet Ambitions. I am planting tomatoes today. It is late in the year, it is June, and so it's not ideal, but I'm doing it anyway because I have all these seedlings. Does anybody else start a lot of seedlings extra and then you plant what you need? Maybe you can plant a few extra, and then you end up with all these extra seedlings. You're giving them away. I gave them some to the pastor, I gave some to the neighbors, and I still have extra seedlings. And so I was gonna just, let them go, let them die or whatever, and I'm like, no. Why don't we just put them in the ground and you'll have extra? So I will have lots of extra tomatoes this year. I'll probably be giving tomatoes away, but that's okay. Why waste the plant? I can feed them to my chickens if nothing else. I'll have plenty to can, and so yeah, that's what I'm doing. So I actually have, I counted, and I have 19 extra tomato plants. So like I said, I'm gonna have lots extra. But my husband helped me this morning because I wasn't looking forward to digging all those holes. I don't really have a spot in my garden already prepped, and so we're planting in this meadow, and so it's new ground, and it was gonna be hard digging. And so he brought over his little mini excavator, an attachment called a ripper, and he said, why don't I just rip a row for you, and then you can plant in that rip. I'm like, yes, that sounds way easier. So I took some video of him actually ripping so you can see how it works. So this is the ripper that he has, and usually it has 3 blades on it. He just took the 2 outside blades off, and he's using that center blade, and he's just making a row down through the grass. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a shovel and open that up, probably dig around and loosen just right where I'm gonna put my tomato plant. It's nice and deep, so I can plant these plants deep, and it is just gonna save me so much time. Having these tools is a real blessing, and I'm very lucky to have the guy I got and the fact that he loves to do this kind of stuff. Good morning, everybody. So it is actually the next day. I did not get my tomatoes planted until yesterday evening. My husband ripped this for me. I was getting ready to plant. I got a bunch of T-posts out here, which I will show you in a minute and tell you why. And then it got so super hot. The sun came into this area, and I decided, okay, it's too hot. I'm gonna go do some other things and come back in the evening and plant, and which I did, but I did not get a video. So I'm gonna show you what I did today, and then I will talk about what the next steps are. Okay, so this is my row of excess tomatoes. I'm calling this my extra row. You can see I just planted my tomatoes down in the crevice all along there. I kind of did dig up a little bit around where the tomato was underneath. I made sure it was fairly loose. This is hard ground, and so yeah, these tomatoes are going to get tested, but like I said, it is less than perfect, less than ideal, but I'm going to do it anyway because otherwise it was that or just let the tomatoes die. I couldn't get rid of them. I also, as I worked my way along, I tried to take any of the grass clods that had come up, just basically flip them over so that they are root side up. So you can see there's one here. This is the roots. The grass is underneath. There's some more over here. I didn't do all of it. I probably should have done that one. Maybe I'll do that before I cover it all up. But yeah, just go through and get them all planted. I tried to plant them nice and deep. Before I planted the tomatoes, I watered that crevice really well so that there's lots of water down in there and where those roots will be. And then of course I'll water them from the top. You'll notice all the T-posts laying out here. My plan is to do a weave to trellis these because I don't have any. I usually trellis with my cattle panels, and I just don't have any more cattle panels. And so I thought, let's try something new. This is my total experimental row here. We're gonna try a Florida weave, and we're gonna see how it goes. Usually you would do a weave with a determinate tomato. And if you don't know what that means, a determinate tomato is one that grows to a certain size. It puts off its fruit, and then it's done growing. So it doesn't get as big. Indeterminate tomatoes will just continue to grow as long as the season allows, as long as the weather allows. These are indeterminate tomatoes, and so I don't know how the Florida weave is going to go. We're going to give it a shot and see what works. Okay, so what I did is I am using T-posts. A lot of people, when they're going to do a Florida weave or a weave trellis, they'll put a T-post at each end and then just use stakes in between. I am using T-posts between every 2 tomatoes because they're going to be hefty tomatoes and it's going to need to be strong. So I just got a T-post and I did 2 tomatoes, another T-post, 2 tomatoes, another T-post on down. Before I place those T-posts though, I need to get it covered. So I have choices. I could try I don't have wood chips. That would be ideal if I could get a big, thick, heavy layer of wood chips. But even that, with this meadow grass, I have a feeling it would just come up through the wood chips, no matter how thick I put it. So what I would need to do is put cardboard down, and that is a good option. Probably what I would do would be put cardboard and then grass clippings on top of the cardboard to just cover it and keep everything down. But that's going to take a while for me to collect the cardboard. And frankly, this stuff works really well. And so that's what we're going to do. The trick, I'm like totally doing this project backwards. The trick is my tomatoes are already planted. I considered laying my fabric out, cutting my holes, and then trying to plant through the holes, which is how I did this over here. But this over here was kind of dug up and the grass was already dead. And it wasn't as difficult. It would have been really, really difficult for me to plant these tomatoes through the holes. So now I am going to roll my fabric out, burn the holes, and lay it over my tomatoes and just work my tomatoes up through the holes. So you see the size of those tomato plants, right? They're going to fit through the holes with a little finagling. So I think it'll work. We're going to try it. I will probably just start at one end and just do a little bit to make sure it's going to work before I roll it all out and cut all of my holes or burn all of my holes, because if it doesn't work, I don't want to waste a great big piece. Anyway, let me go grab my fabric and yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I cut holes for the first 2 tomatoes, kind of laid it over there, was able to fairly easily pull up the tomato through the hole, so I think it's going to work great. The trick is just to make sure everything is lined up correctly, because I didn't measure my tomatoes, I kind of eyeballed it. So what I decided to do was lay my fabric out, and I actually folded it in half. I stapled this, or I put staples in this end to keep it firm, but then it's actually folded in half. And then I'm just burning the holes along the edge so I could get it nice and close to my tomatoes and make sure I'm real accurate. I'd like to keep it all in one piece. I thought about doing little chunks, but this will be better. So I'm just putting my holes right next to where the tomato is, as close as possible. So let me show you how I do that. Okay, so I'm just using one of these little 1 pound, I think it's 1 pound, yeah, propane bottles with a nozzle on it that has a little trigger to turn the flame on. Going by each tomato, lining it up, making sure that my fabric is in half here, and I'm just gonna burn a hole and work my way down. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing my tomato, reaching through my hole, and tucking it through. This is probably the biggest tomato here. And I managed to do it. Alright, this is what the job looks like when it's done. This will be so much easier to maintain. Yeah, in the corners I put staples, and every corner, 2 on the end, 2 at the other end, and then every once in a while, there's one right there, and right there, all the way down, and then directly across from each other. I can't see it. There it is, and then we have one over there. That's just going to hold it nice and straight. Plus, it's going to hold those edges down, and I can run my lawnmower right along the edge. That's what I've been doing with that one, and it's working well. yeah, we'll have lots of extra tomatoes this year. Okay, so that is the project so far. The next step will be to put in my T-posts and start weaving, but that doesn't happen until those tomatoes, or doesn't have to happen until those tomatoes get tall enough to where I need to start trellising them. So that is going to be a whole nother day because it's getting hot out. I stepped over into the shade. You can see the sun is out there on my tomato area, which is a good thing for the tomatoes, but man, it's hot. I'm going to head in the house and get bookwork done. I really don't want to do bookwork, but it has to be done. So I wanted to talk to you just briefly about this idea of planting extra. So if any year you need to plant extra, I would highly recommend this year because who knows what's going to be happening in the near future. I have a feeling times are going to get tough. I would like to be in a position to be able to take care of myself and maybe help people, even if it's in a small way of sharing a basket of tomatoes with them. Plant extra. I really highly encourage it. That's why I'm doing it. I actually have more pumpkins and butternut squash that I'm going to plant because those are really good for storage. They'll last through the winter or through most of the winter. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. So, be prepared. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next video, and I'll keep you up to date on my whole trellis idea and whether it even works with indeterminate tomatoes. We'll talk to you later. Bye.